The screen lights up before the sound does. No music. No warning. Just a black background and a single text message, centered, unblurred, impossible to misunderstand. Pay the $48,000 for your sister's condo by noon tomorrow, or I report you to the ethics board. A beat. Then the image beneath it loads. Grainy, ugly, devastating. Forged document. Her name typed cleanly at the bottom. Alyssa Chin. Her signature copied well enough to fool anyone who didn't know exactly how she signed under pressure. The sender name at the top isn't a number, it's Dad. Alyssa doesn't gasp. She doesn't swear. She doesn't drop her phone. She lifts her tea mug with one hand, steady, precise. The ceramic doesn't even click against the cork coaster when she sets it down. No tremor. No spill. Most people would be hyperventilating right now. Alyssa is a senior compliance officer at one of Chicago's largest banks. 32 years old. 8 years of spotless audits. The kind of professional who gets called into rooms when other people are already in trouble. She reads the message again. Then a third time. Not because she doesn't understand it, but because she's cataloging it. Timing. Threat vector. Her father isn't asking for help, he's blackmailing her for silence. She exhales slowly through her nose and opens her work laptop. Not the personal one. The secure one. Fingerprint. Password. Hardware token. The familiar blue interface hums to life. If someone is threatening her career, they've already made a mistake. She pulls audit logs tied to her social security number. Activity tracking, access attempts, authentication histories. Lines of data scroll past, clean and orderly, until one cluster glows wrong. Bright blue timestamps stacked too close together. Device name. Morgan's iPhone 14. Lissa blinks once. Morgan. 29. Her younger sister. The golden child. The one who just needed a little help getting started. The one whose condo Gregory keeps calling an investment. She drills deeper. Security questions. Answered correctly. Password resets. Successful on first try. Identity verification passed without escalation. Morgan didn't hack the system. She walks straight through it. Like Alyssa's identity was a communal trust fund. Something the family could draw from whenever Morgan overspent, underperformed, or panicked. The loan application loads next. Alyssa's name. Alyssa's credentials. Alyssa's compliance clearance used to bypass federal banking safeguards that exist specifically to stop this kind of fraud. The numbers at the bottom punch harder than the threat text ever could. Felony exposure. Up to 30 years. Alyssa leans back in her chair, so this is why Gregory isn't yelling. Why he isn't pleading. He knows exactly how bad this is. He's seen the documents. He understands the consequences. And instead of turning Morgan in, he chose to threaten Alyssa. Golden child protected. Scapegoat sacrificed. Same family math as always. Alyssa's fingers move. She screenshots everything. Saves metadata. Exports the entire text thread to an external hard drive. Copies the forged document, preserving headers, timestamps, origin data. The kind of details that don't matter, until they matter more than anything. She locks the drive into the small fireproof safe beneath her desk and spins the dial twice. Then she opens a new browser tab. The cursor blinks in the empty search bar. Alyssa smiles for the first time. Whatever Gregory thinks is about to happen, he's very, very wrong. 3 months earlier, a different notification had been sitting in her inbox. Still unread. Alyssa opens it now. Subject. Internal transfer. Singapore Regional Risk Team. Compensation adjustment. Plus 20%. Title. Senior Risk Analyst. Relocation package. Full. The kind of offer people screenshot. The kind you forward to friends with shaking hands and too many exclamation points. Singapore. Promotion. Clean slate. A job that would take her out of the same city, the same building, the same gravitational pull of family emergencies disguised as obligations. She had left it untouched for 92 days. I told myself I couldn't leave Chicago, Alyssa murmurs, more observation than confession. Aging parents. A sister who just needed a little more time. A family that somehow always seemed one crisis away from collapse unless she was nearby, solvent and available. The truth lands heavier. She hadn't been staying out of love. She had been staying out of conditioning. Her potential had been rotting quietly in an inbox while she played backup generator to everyone else's bad decisions. Singapore wasn't ignored because she didn't want it was ignored because she had been trained to believe wanting more was betrayal. They didn't need her. They needed a scapegoat. The memory surfaces without warning. 3 years ago. 2:07 a.m. Her phone vibrating across the nightstand like it was panicking. Morgan's voice had been shrill, slurred, breaking apart between sobs. She'd driven drunk, missed the turn, plowed straight through the neighbor's fence. No insurance. Someone had already called the police. "I made a mistake," Morgan kept saying. "My life is over." Gregory had taken the phone halfway through. Controlled. Already managing the narrative. "She's young," he said. "One mistake shouldn't ruin her future. You understand that, right?" Alyssa had wired $5,000 before her heart rate fully came down. Repairs. Quiet money. She never saw it again. Not repayment. Not gratitude. Not even acknowledgement. Just silence until the next emergency point. 18 months later, the pattern escalated. Gregory's sure-thing investment, his friend's tech startup, collapsed overnight. The margin call would wipe out the savings and force the sale of the family home. The house that existed as proof. Proof that he had built something solid. Proof that he had succeeded. He didn't raise his voice. He sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands and talked about her mother's blood pressure. About stress. About how shameful it would be if people found out they were selling. "I don't know if your mother could handle it," he said softly. "This kind of stress might kill her." Alyssa wrote a check for $12,000. Later, alone in her apartment, the realization arrived fully formed and merciless. She wasn't saving them. She was paying a subscription fee. Once she saw it, she couldn't unsee it. She wasn't a daughter in this family. She was an asset. An emergency fund with a pulse. A living insurance policy activated whenever the golden child set another fire. Her professional brain clicks in, automatically. Sunk cost fallacy. The tendency to keep investing in a failing project because of how much you've already put into it. Gregory's longest-running failed investment wasn't a startup. It was Morgan, 29 years spent building a shrine to her potential. Every misstep reframed. Failed math wasn't incompetence. It was creativity. Getting fired wasn't irresponsibility. It was spirit. Living far beyond her means wasn't recklessness. It was taste. Gregory hadn't protected Morgan because he loved her more. He protected her because she upheld the story he told himself about who he was. The perfect father. The perfect family. The man who raised a star. Admitting Morgan was a failure would mean admitting he was too, so he chose the easier option. Destroy the reliable daughter. Sacrifice the one who wouldn't collapse. Burn the asset that could absorb the damage quietly. Alyssa closes the Singapore email and exhales. Assets don't have feelings. Assets don't have loyalty. And when an asset becomes toxic, you liquidate it. Alyssa had learned something important in risk mitigation. To catch a wolf, you don't run. Running triggers the chase instinct. Fighting makes them go straight for the throat. Every aggressive move just confirms to the predator that you're dangerous and worth destroying, so you do the opposite. You limp. You drag one leg. You whimper. You make yourself look broken, defeated, already halfway dead. They relax. They get sloppy. They believe they've won. And that is the only moment when they are vulnerable enough to kill. Alyssa doesn't open the Singapore email again. Instead, she books a ticket to London. Refundable. Economy class. Departing in 4 hours. Not an escape. A decoy at a breadcrumb trail for a man who thought he was hunting a rabbit. She screenshots the confirmation. Time stamp visible. Airport code obvious. The kind of detail Gregory would fixate on and repeat later to prove how in control he was. She wasn't walking into a bear trap. She was laying one. Her thumbs hover over the text thread with her father. The same thread that held the threat. The forgery. The implied erasure of her life's work. She types slowly. "You win, Dad. The words taste metallic. Humiliating. Perfect. Exactly what he wanted to hear. The submission he'd been demanding since she was 5 years old. Since straight A's were expected, not celebrated. Since compliance had been mistaken for love. She keeps going that I can't lose my license. I'm scared of the investigation. I tried to fix it. I'm leaving the country tonight. She attaches the London flight confirmation. She waits 10 seconds. Then adds the lie. I tried to wire the $48,000 but the bank flagged it. They locked my account. I logged in and added Morgan as an authorized signer so she can pull it out directly. It's a beautiful lie, clean, efficient, fatal. Adding an authorized signer requires physical presence. A signature card. In-person verification. Multiple federal compliance steps that leave paper trails, camera footage, and witnesses. Alyssa knows this. Gregory doesn't. Neither does Morgan. They only know what they want to believe. She sends one more message. She has to go to the main branch on LaSalle. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. when they open. She needs her ID and has to sign the withdrawal herself. I already cleared it with the manager. The instructions are precise for a reason. She hits send. The phone lands on the table like a loaded gun. 3 dots appear. Disappear. Appear again. She imagines the scene without effort. Gregory pacing. Morgan crying. Then relief flooding the room like oxygen. The crisis solved. Alyssa put in her place. Gregory puffing his chest, telling Morgan he handled it. That he always handles it. The phone buzzes. Good girl. The words punch harder than the original threat. The same phrase he used when she brought home perfect report cards. When she stayed up late fixing Morgan's messes. When she did exactly what was required and nothing more. Training language. Not gratitude. Then another message. Don't come back. That's the part that clarifies everything. He doesn't care that she's supposedly fleeing in terror. Doesn't care that she's alone, scared, unraveling. He got what he wanted, the money. And the removal of the problem. Alyssa sets the phone down and feels something cold and sharp curve across her face. Morgan isn't picking up money tomorrow. She's walking into a federal compliance nightmare by demanding ID. By forcing an in-person signature. By attempting to access funds tied to an identity that isn't hers. On camera, at a flagship branch, in front of federally trained witnesses. Alyssa wasn't sending her a lifeline. She was sending her a subpoena. She packs the last box. Not much left. The apartment echoes now. Emptied of both furniture and obligation. She sets the key on the counter, centered, deliberate. When she walks out, she doesn't look back. The next scene opens at the airport. And this time, the destination actually matters. The first-class lounge at O'Hare is hushed in the way money always is. Soft leather. Muted conversations. The low hiss of an espresso machine that costs more than most cars. Alyssa sits in a high-backed wing chair by the window, one ankle crossed over the other, posture relaxed enough to look bored. Outside, ground crew guide containers into the belly of a Boeing 777 with practiced indifference. She lifts her phone. 8:55 a.m. Chicago time. 5 minutes, on LaSalle Street. The branch doors are unlocking, polished marble floors catch the morning light. The air smells faintly of sanitizer and old money. Tellers slide into position, opening cash drawers, straightening stacks, running the same routines they run every morning. Branch manager Sarah does a final walkthrough. Mid-40s, diligent, by the book. Zero tolerance for nonsense. The kind of manager who never cuts corners and never looks the other way. Exactly the right person to be on duty. Morgan arrives in a blazer that still has its retail stiffness. Bought with Alyssa's credit card months ago. She adjusts it in the reflection of the glass, rehearsing seriousness, trying to look like someone who belongs on LaSalle Street. Gregory stays in the car. Engine idling. Meter running. Thumb hovering over his phone, firing off texts for updates, already irritated at the thought of a parking ticket. Arrogant enough to think he just bullied a bank into submission. They think they're walking into a payday, they're walking into a crime scene. Alyssa takes a sip of espresso and lets her mind rewind 12 hours. She could have reported everything the moment the threat arrived. Ethics board. Internal fraud unit. Local authorities. But that would have framed it as a messy family dispute. Complicated. Emotional. Easy to muddy. She needed something cleaner. She needed voluntary entry. Explicit demand. A signature placed knowingly on paper. She needed them to sleep soundly. To dream about condos and furniture and victory. To believe the lie completely. People only incriminate themselves when they're comfortable. She checks the time again, 8:59, in the lounge. No one notices when Alyssa opens her laptop. She logs into the internal banking portal with the ease of muscle memory. Navigates to the security tab. Pulls up her account. Status. Active. 1 last pause. Not hesitation. Recognition. She thinks of every time she cleaned up Morgan's messes. Every apology made on someone else's behalf. Every check written to keep the peace. Then she clicks edit. A single option expands beneath the menu. Victim identity theft. She selects it. The system locks instantly. Terminals tied to the account freeze. A silent alert pings security and local law enforcement simultaneously. Mandatory reporting protocols engage without debate or delay. Code red. A dialog box appears, stark and clinical. Critical alert. Do not process transaction. Subject will attempt access using forged authorization. Stolen identification. Div fraud. Call 911. Case reference. 4492B. No warmth. No narrative. No family context. This isn't the voice of a sister, it's the voice of a compliance officer. Alyssa hits save. Status. Frozen. Law enforcement alert active at exactly 9 a.m. The bank doors open. Morgan strides to the counter like she owns the place. Sunglasses off. Confidence on. She slides her license across the marble. My sister added me as an authorized signer, she says, rehearsed, breezy. I'm here to withdraw funds. The teller smiles politely and types. And the screen explodes red. Code red. Identity theft. Contact authorities. The teller doesn't flinch. She apologizes for the delay. Mentions the system is running slow. Signals security with a subtle tilt of her head. The doors lock, silent alarms pulse. Morgan checks her phone, irritation creeping in. Tries to pull her license back. Security steps closer. When Morgan turns to leave, police lights wash blue and red across the front windows. 2 officers enter. The click of handcuffs is loud in the quiet bank. Morgan panics. She talks. Desperate. Points toward the street. My dad made me do it, she cries. He's outside. He said he'd ruin my sister if I didn't get the money. Her phone is still open. The texts are still there. Get the money or I ruin her. Don't leave without that check. Extortion stacks neatly on top of fraud. Outside. Gregory doesn't have time to turn the key. 30,000 feet above the ground. Alyssa's plane banks west, while they are let out in handcuffs. She is already airborne. Perfect timing, perfect execution. And the story is just getting started. Somewhere over the Atlantic, her phone vibrates. No dramatic ringtone. No rush. Just a single encrypted message sliding into place. Her lawyer doesn't waste words. Morgan Chen, charged. Bank fraud. Aggravated identity theft. Gregory Chen, charged. Extortion. Conspiracy. Protective orders granted. No contact. No retaliation. No family discussions. Both cases federal. Both serious. Both carrying time that can't be negotiated away with guilt or charm. Alyssa leans back and closes her eyes. Not in relief, but in confirmation it's done. When she opens them again, she doesn't hesitate. She deletes the family group chat. The one that used emojis to soften cruelty and silence to punish resistance. She blocks Morgan's number. Her mother's. Every aunt, cousin, intermediary who might try to explain, minimize, or negotiate her return. Last, she removes her father's contact entirely. Not archived. Not muted. Erased. The final severance isn't about distance. It's about access. There is no longer a door or even a wall. Just absence. This is permanent. The flight attendant stops beside her seat, all professional warmth and soft edges. Champagne. Alyssa smiles. Yes. The glass is cold when she takes it. Earned cold. She lifts it slightly. I'm celebrating a promotion, she says. The attendant laughs, assuming corporate success. Alyssa isn't lying. She has just made herself CEO of her own life. She reaches into her bag and pulls out the old SIM card. The one tied to emergency calls. Late-night guilt. Financial rescues disguised as love. She drops it into the champagne glass. It sinks slowly, distortion rippling across the gold surface until it disappears entirely. An old identity, drowned on purpose. She takes a sip. The truth settles with it. This was never about revenge. It was about self-preservation. Sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing by their rules. Sometimes boundaries aren't enough. Sometimes explanations are just invitations for more harm. And sometimes, quietly, controversially, you have to fire your own family. Not because you're cruel. Because you want to live ahead of her. Singapore waits. 20% raise. A new title. A city where no one knows her as an emergency fund or a backup plan. No guilt. No obligation. No subscription fee quietly draining her future. She isn't running away, she's running toward. There's a difference between escape and liberation, and she can feel it now. Steady, clean, irreversible. The window beside her is bright. Clouds roll beneath the wing like something finally put to rest. The sun hangs above. Unapologetic, her phone lies dark on the tray table. Block contacts. No messages. No demands. Her passport sits on top of her bag. For the first time, everything she's carrying belongs to her. She didn't save them, she saved herself. The pattern ended the moment she removed herself from the equation. The asset didn't get destroyed, it liquidated itself.